the profile of skateboarding games has gone downhill. Since the heyday of Activision's Tony Hawk's Pro Skater franchise, and even its physics-based skate games, a few trends have affected big brand skateboarding franchises, and one factor may be this, is general with some exceptions, being a slow transition from arcade fun with simple button presses, translating into stellar tricks to more complicated, harder to grasp systems that exclude audiences who, the other ways play an easy to learn, hard to master skateboarding game. Glass Bottom Games, the minds behind the adorable skateboard, is on a mission to bring accessibility back to the skateboarding genre by fusing the best elements of pro skater with those of skate. We are trying to combine the best parts of both skate and the Tony Hawk games. We want you to roll up a half pipe and have that physical feel that the pro skater games did not have, said Glass Bottom Games programmer and designer Megan Fox. We realized there was this cool middle ground. Skate is fun but it's super inaccessible to play, and we wanted to mitigate that. The idea behind Skateboard, that charming skater featuring a bird shredding through a tabletop-sized, Toy Story-like park, came after folks found a GIF of a real bird skating around on a half-pipe in a mini skate park. Another developer, who goes by Durkingvin on Twitter, had created a prototype skateboarding game, featuring a bird with no rider who could not get the human part of skateboarding to feel quite right without looking funky. Folks thought making a bird the focus would allow the game to be a bit zanier without feeling out of place. I contacted him and he loved the idea of a bird on a bird. So I bought what he created and started to incorporate it. Fox said, I decided to just project the bird on top of the board. The board is what exists physically and the bird mostly just tries to follow along in a somewhat intelligent way. Fox describes the player character in skateboarding simulation games as a pin sliding around a skate park. Everything is fake and the entire character is a self-contained element. Skateboard, somewhat similar to skate, is different in that the board acts like an actual skateboard, but the bird, as well as many of the tricks, are faked in order to mix the two approaches. Fox is hoping to connect both types of games with the control scheme. The button-to-trick controls were pretty easy to fuse with actual physics. Fox said, you press the kickflip button and you do a kickflip. You can do several in a row, and then combo them with a grind just like you would in Tony Hawk. The button inputs are instant with no lag. It respects the inputs you make and adjusts them as soon as it can. A big issue that stands in the way of that simplicity covering the whole game is the more complicated special tricks. Any tricks involving the body in manipulating the board, more so than flip tricks, create an issue with the bird not being an actual part of the board. For example, Cry Stair, where you make a cross shape with your body, is particularly hard to pull off. Fox said, if your character is a pin shape, then that's easy. But if everything is fake besides the board, then you are moving it into an unnatural position that would be hard to make work. Most of the tricks that bridged combos together in the Pro Skater series are still intact in skate-based stalls, grinds, manuals, and such as simple things you can essentially weld the board to a surface and it's done. Fox's solution to pull off the more complicated body tricks is twofold. I am creating a separate duplicate board animation, so that when you get at it, it'll replace the actual board. Fox said. But almost all the special tricks tend to have weird physics that might be hard to duplicate, so I will not be able to have all of them. Even though Fox will not have all the traditional tricks that players will recognize from Tony Hawk and other games, She will have other tricks that fit the quirky style she's going for. My special tricks that give weird stuff marked towards weird stuff, like the bird pulling a pizza thing out and eating it, she said. But I do still want specific special tricks like the tiara, where the bird holds the bird above its head. It would be hard to have the bird pull off all the body tricks, even if Fox and her team wanted to, since a bird cannot naturally bend to all the positions required. That makes tricks like grinding even more important in skateboard. It's only through this project did Fox realize how complicated Tony Hawk's grinding systems were. It turns out the rear and the board have a really deep system in the Tony Hawk games. She said, whenever you are grinding in Tony Hawk, the system needs to know things like where the player was when they ollied, where they were when they started the grind, what part of the board hit the rail first, and so many other things. Since the inputs in the Tony Hawk games were so simple, the system had to fill in a lot of the blanks. Different types of grinds to be possible is different in skate since the player has to do a lot more of the work in terms of button presses and positioning. Grinding is one of the most important elements to get right in a game, like skateboard, since it chains combos together and feels incredible on its own. It's something that Fox tried to replicate since the alternative, physics-based approach would be less accessible and forgiving. Plus is something that both birds and humans can handle on a board. Feather skateboarders are not going to be carbon copies of their human counterparts. Skateboard style has a few crucial differences when compared to a birdman that help ground some of the mechanics, while also incorporating wings into tricks and combos. The physics for skateboard feel real, but if you stand back and look, it does not make complete sense. It feels good, but it does not feel real. Fox said, the flapping, an animation, was added to give a visual explanation. When the gravity feels too light, it also infuses more of the Tony Hawk feel of crazy tricks with the realish feel that skate has. That flapping animation, or what Fox calls flaps, works as double jump air ollie that serves as another way to chain tricks together. It's something that's unique to your skate, but that also builds off the foundation built by past games. While Fox does want to create a skateboard experience that fuses the approaches of both skate and Tony Hawk, she also wants skateboard to be a relaxing experience that does not put a ton of pressure on the player. Fox does not want progression to be tied to your states. Instead, skateboard focus on collectibles as the simple primary objective throughout the game, similar to Yonder, the Cloud Catcher Chronicles. Cash over collect at the end that pushed exploration and fun over difficulty. I am trying to make something for the players that did not go from Tony Hawk to skate, but also something with a combination of vibes and playstyles that will be broad enough for fans of skate. Fox said, this is especially for people who like the idea of skateboarding, but do not want to think too hard about what the difference is between a smooth and a crooked grind. People that just want to pretend to skate. The elegance of first-time user experience involves the lab. Even almost 3 years post-release, Valve's The Lab is still my go-to way of introducing people to virtual reality. Why? It's polished, and funny, and fun, and there is a ton of very different content to make around in. But what makes it such an ideal gateway drug for room-scale VR is the total elegance of its first-time user experience. In the last year, VR games have, by and large, improved a lot at getting players fluent at their own controls and mechanics. Beat Saber is the phenomenon it is in part because it's so easy to pick up the controllers and get caught up in. Google has shown continued improvement in Tilt Brush and Google Earth by expanding their tutorials to slowly introduce players to their full functionalities. With great rise to glory, Survios has finally developed an experience as accessible as it is innovative. This trend is great, but I can think of no game that introduces a new player into the full grandeur of room-scale VR as quickly and invisibly as 2016 alone. So how does Valve do it? Let's take it step by step. When the lab finishes loading, you find yourself in a drab, barren environment. A pair of slightly animated figures, a single wall, a spotlight, a few props,